The panic attack started during the commercial break, but nobody noticed except Ellen. While Selena Gomez was getting her makeup touched up and discussing her latest single about mental health awareness, Ellen spotted a teenage girl in the front row hyperventilating, her mother frantically waving a paper bag while whispering harshly for her to calm down and stop embarrassing us. What happened next would prove that sometimes the most important songs aren't played on radio stations, but in the moments when someone drowning in their own mind finally finds a voice that understands. It was a vibrant Friday afternoon at the Ellen DeGeneres show, and the studio was electric with youthful energy. 400 audience members, many of them teenagers and young adults, had gathered to see one of pop music's most beloved and authentic voices. Ellen, radiant in a soft lavender blazer that caught the studio lights perfectly, was thoroughly enjoying her conversation with Selena Gomez, who looked effortlessly stunning in a flowing emerald dress, her dark hair gleaming as she discussed her latest album with the kind of vulnerability that had made her a voice for an entire generation. "Selena," Ellen said, leaning forward with genuine admiration. "This new album is so personal, so honest about mental health struggles. What made you decide to be so open about anxiety and depression?" Selena's expression grew serious, her famous smile taking on that thoughtful quality that revealed the depth beneath the pop star exterior. "Ellen, I realized that staying quiet about mental health wasn't protecting anyone. When I was struggling with panic attacks, with depression, with feeling like I was drowning in my own thoughts, I felt so alone. But the truth is, millions of young people feel exactly the same way." The audience listened with the kind of respectful attention that Selena's honesty commanded. This wasn't typical celebrity promotion. This was real conversation about real struggles. "And the response from your fans," Ellen continued, "especially young people who are dealing with similar issues, that must be incredibly meaningful." "It's everything," Selena nodded earnestly. "I get messages from kids who say hearing me talk about therapy, about medication, about the fact that asking for help is actually brave, it gave them permission to reach out. That's worth more than any #1 hit, you know?" During the commercial break, as makeup artists touched up Selena's face and Ellen reviewed her notes, something was happening in the front row that would soon change the entire direction of the show. 16-year-old Maya Patel sat frozen in her seat, her chest tightening with each breath as the familiar sensation of panic began to flood her system. Her heart was racing, her palms were sweating, and the studio lights suddenly felt too bright, too overwhelming. Beside her, her mother, Maya Patel, was growing visibly frustrated. "Maya, stop it," Priya whispered, harshly, pulling a paper bag from her purse. "Not here, not in front of all these people. Just breathe normally." But Maya couldn't breathe normally. The panic attack was consuming her, making her feel like she was drowning in plain sight while her mother treated it like a choice she was making to be difficult. Ellen, who had developed an uncanny ability to read her audience over 20 years of hosting, noticed the commotion immediately. Even from across the studio, she could see Maya's distress and her mother's embarrassment. When they came back from commercial, Ellen was supposed to ask Selena about her upcoming tour. Instead, she did something unprecedented. "Selena," Ellen said gently, "hold that thought about reaching out for help. I think someone in our audience might need to hear this conversation right now." Selena followed Ellen's gaze to the front row, where Maya was now visibly struggling to breathe, while her mother continued whispering urgently for her to get control of herself. Ellen stood up from her chair immediately. "Ma'am in the front row, is your daughter okay?" Priya looked up, mortified by the sudden attention of 400 people and multiple cameras. "She's fine," Priya said quickly. "She just needs to calm down. She gets worked up sometimes." But Maya wasn't fine, and Ellen could see it clearly. Without hesitation, Ellen walked down the steps that separated the stage from the audience, something she did only when human need trumped television protocol. "Sweetheart," Ellen said, approaching Maya gently. "What's your name?" "Maya," the girl managed to whisper between gasps for air. Ellen knelt down in front of Maya's chair, her lavender blazer pooling around her as she created a calm presence in the middle of Maya's storm. "Maya, you're having a panic attack, aren't you?" Maya nodded, tears streaming down her face as she struggled to speak. From the stage, Selena Gomez stood up immediately. Without being asked, without consulting producers, she walked down to join Ellen and Maya. Her celebrity interview had just become something much more important. "Maya," Selena said softly, kneeling beside Ellen, "I know exactly what you're feeling right now. I know it feels like you're dying, like you can't breathe, like everyone is staring at you and judging you." Maya looked up at Selena with surprise, her breathing still labored, but her attention caught by the genuine understanding in Selena's voice. "I've been exactly where you are," Selena continued. "Panic attacks in public, feeling like I was embarrassing everyone around me, having people tell me to just calm down like it was something I could control." Priya, Maya's mother, watched this interaction with growing discomfort. "She just needs to learn to manage her emotions better," Priya said defensively. "All this therapy talk just makes it worse." Ellen turned to address Priya directly, her voice gentle but firm. "Ma'am, what's your name?" "Maya Patel. I'm Maya's mother." "Priya, I can see you love your daughter and you want to help her, but what Maya is experiencing isn't something she can just control through willpower." Selena looked up at Priya with the kind of patience that comes from having had this conversation many times before. "Mrs. Patel, my own family struggled to understand my anxiety at first. They thought I was being dramatic, that I just needed to be stronger. But mental health isn't about strength. It's about brain chemistry." Maya's breathing was beginning to slow as she focused on Selena's voice, on the understanding she was hearing for the first time from an adult. "Maya," Ellen said, "how long have you been having panic attacks?" "Since I was 13, Maya whispered. "But Mom thinks I'm just being attention-seeking. She won't let me see a therapist because she says it will make people think our family is broken." The studio had fallen into that profound silence that happens when hundreds of people witness something too real for entertainment. Selena took Maya's hands gently. "Maya, there is nothing broken about needing help with your mental health. I've been in therapy for years. I take medication for my anxiety and depression. It doesn't make me weak, it makes me healthy." Ellen stood up and addressed Priya directly. "Mrs. Patel, I understand you want to protect your daughter. But right now, Maya needs professional help, not just family support." Priya's defensive posture began to crack as she watched her daughter respond to the understanding she was receiving from Ellen and Selena. "In our culture," Priya said quietly, "we don't talk about these things. We handle problems within the family." "I understand," Selena said, standing up to face Priya with respect. "I come from a culture that values family strength too. But loving our children sometimes means getting help from people who understand things we don't." Ellen made a decision that would define this moment forever. "Maya, I want you to know that starting Monday, we're going to connect you with a therapist who specializes in anxiety disorders. And Mrs. Patel, we're going to connect you with a support group for parents of children with mental health challenges." But Selena wasn't finished. She began removing a delicate silver bracelet from her wrist, one that had clearly been chosen with care. "Maya," Selena said, "this bracelet has a little inscription on it that says, 'You are not alone.' I've worn it through some of my darkest moments, and it's reminded me that there are people who understand, who care, who want to help." She placed the bracelet around Maya's wrist. "I want you to have this. And when you're having a panic attack, when you feel like you're drowning, I want you to remember that millions of people have felt exactly the same way, and that getting help is the bravest thing you can do. Ellen began removing her lavender blazer. Maya, this blazer has been with me through some of my most important shows. But today, it's witnessing something more important than any celebrity interview. It's witnessing courage. She placed the blazer around Maya's shoulders. I want you to wear this home. I want you to tell your friends, your family, anyone who will listen, that mental health matters, that therapy isn't shameful, and that asking for help is a sign of strength. The moment that brought the entire studio to tears came when Ellen asked Maya what she wanted other teenagers to know. I want them to know that panic attacks aren't your fault, Maya said, her voice stronger now, and that the people who tell you to just get over it, they don't understand. But there are people who do understand, and it's okay to find them. Selena addressed the cameras directly. If you're watching this and you're struggling with anxiety, depression, panic attacks, please know that you're not alone. Please know that getting help isn't giving up. It's fighting back. But it was Priya's response that surprised everyone the most. Looking at her daughter, really seeing her for the first time, she spoke directly to the camera. I want to say I'm sorry to my daughter, and to any parent watching who might be making the same mistakes I've made. Our children's mental health is not about our family's reputation. It's about their lives. 3 months later, Maya Patel appeared on The Ellen DeGeneres Show again. But this time she was healthy, confident, and glowing. She had been working with a therapist, practicing coping techniques, and most importantly, she had her mother's full support. Selena Gomez, who had stayed in regular contact with the family, appeared via video to celebrate Maya's progress and announce the launch of a mental health initiative specifically designed for teenagers from families who struggle to understand mental health issues. The segment sparked a national conversation about cultural stigma around mental health and the importance of family support in teen mental health treatment. Maya became a youth advocate for mental health awareness, speaking at schools about the reality of anxiety disorders and the importance of seeking help. Ellen learned that day that her job wasn't to interview famous people about their latest projects. Her job was to create moments where stigma could be broken, where families could learn to love each other through misunderstanding, and where young people could find the voices that tell them they're not alone. Selena Gomez learned that the most important performances happen not on concert stages, but in moments when her own vulnerability gives someone else permission to be vulnerable too. And Maya Patel learned that sometimes the scariest thing you can do, admitting you need help in front of hundreds of strangers, is also the thing that sets you free. Because the most powerful songs aren't always the ones that top the charts. Sometimes they're the ones sung in moments when someone drowning in their own thoughts finally finds a voice that understands, that cares, and that reminds them they're not alone.